Good day there, everybody. How's it going out there? Well, we all know what it is like out there right now. It's very tumultuous. In the United States, particularly, since we have a president who is basically declaring war on U.S. cities, sometimes with actual National Guard, as in the case of Los Angeles and Chicago, but sometimes just with infiltration of ICE agents slash border agents, randomly rounding up folks in many major cities in the United States. New York City, San Francisco, and of course, another one of the Republicans' favorite cities, Portland, the weird, eccentric city that's known for its weirdness. And a lot of furries can appreciate that weirdness. I know one furry moved out from Denver, Colorado to Portland because of the weirdness of Portland. And it's the same furry that basically came up with the phrase, keep furry weird. So Portland is very much an eccentric city for eccentric folks. And the way that they're dealing with the ICE situation has definitely shown an eccentric tone. And it has somewhat to do with furry, but not really. It's not furries that are doing this. It's, regular Americans who are protesting things, but they are using animal costumes. So it's somewhat furry related and furry adjacent. It's the frogs, particularly the frogs. There are other animal costumes that have been shown dancing around, such as inflatable raccoons and giraffes. But frogs is definitely one of them and has become one of the main staple ones. As you can see in this photograph here, you have three frogs, holding up a sign. There's frogs are strong together. And on top of that, we have in the middle of top frame, you can see the ICE agents on the balcony of the building that they are basically using as a staging ground, looking down upon the frogs. Now, the frogs have become a lot more popular as of late, but it all really kind of started with one, and the one frog guy in a frog costume, started pushing forward into the foyer of the staging building that ICE was using, and he got, pepper sprayed in his breathing hole in the back. Didn't do too much though, but basically, it's been, there was a lot of cool shots, a lot of good shots of the situation, which, caused other folks to follow along and emulate. And so like animal costumes have become a sort of staple in opposing that, particularly inflatable animal costumes, which for furries is coincidentally weird in two ways. Number one, there's a furry named Zydex who is very much anti-fascist, who he's known to quote online a lot the phrase, "Be young, have fun, launch Nazis into the sun," or something like that. Very much solidly anti-Nazi. He's definitely one of the first to speak out against, sort of fascist ideologies within the fandom, in the 2017s, and was sort of a push on that regard, particularly against Stu Griffin. He works for Anthrocon and was probably a big proponent of, having him removed from Anthrocon, which, there's a video in my history about that situation. So having inflatable animals be the thing that's opposing fascism and via governmental overreach and using, government resources in ways that the people don't wish them to use is very much a very interesting thing. But the opposite thing is, as I mentioned, there were inflatable raccoons, and a very infamous phrase within the furry fandom is a raccoon guy named Diesel Raccoon. Now, a Diesel Raccoon and Zydex would be like the opposite sides of the spectrum. It's so far apart you can't even horseshoe it. There's no way you can horseshoe those things together. They Diesel is very infamous on the or was very infamous. They're basically not doing too much in the furry fandom these days. I haven't heard much from them, obviously, as scenes change. But back in the day, he would post vines and things like that, which have very racist sort of jokes. off-color jokes, very very harsh, and to the point where it was not even really seen as jokes, primarily because like other posts in his social media showed that he was actually afraid of people of color, which, obviously people pointed out. Like one of his posts was something about like being afraid to go into a Walmart without a firearm on them because of the types of people that are there. And like very, very like, hard, right, authoritarian, like I'm afraid of anybody who's not me kind of thing. And so going back to like why that's interesting about the quote of his quote is inflates you big and round. And like, what does that quote have to do with the current political situation? Well, because the inflates you big and round was like an apolitical demand that he made to another raccoon named Star Raccoon, who was speaking at the time against the situation that was happening on January 6th, 2001, right? So in January 6th of 2001, the riots happened, the attempted insurrection by Donald Trump after, during the vice president signing off that President Biden would be coming in for the next term. He sent his sycophants to the Capitol, to the Congress, to the Capitol building, and basically had, did the January 6th riots. During that whole incident on social media, furries were obviously reacting to the situation on the ground. And this was mainly on Twitter, because this was before Musk had bought Twitter. It'd be about a year before Musk had bought out Twitter. So basically what ended up happening is, there's like, this is ridiculous. This shouldn't be happening. This is disgusting. And anyone who voted for this man is disgusting. That's what I believe. It was something along those lines that Star Raccoon said. And then in response, Diesel, who obviously voted for Donald Trump and obviously didn't want to feel like he was responsible for this situation, or through guilt or through things, wanted him to not talk about that situation that's happening. So he was like, I like you as he responded to Star Raccoon with, I like you as a friend, but I really wish you wouldn't talk about politics. Ooh, inflates you big and round. And so like the inflates you big and round has become a very tongue-in-cheek sort of like, this is getting too political in here. Can you calm it down? Like in joking about people who do that. So it's ironic and an interesting twist that it's inflatable, big and round frogs that are like the political response to this, ice incursion. So basically the interesting thing is that, that's basically it on that. Very interesting. Obviously, inflatable animals have become very more pricey. And if you're looking for a cheap fursuit, the demand for those are probably going to go up. But, it's probably going to ebb and flow. And there's probably going to be, people pushing for supply during this whole thing. So, there's going to be ebbs and flows when it comes to protests. So you might be able to easily get your hand on an inflatable animal costume if you really want to have fun with it. Just saying, like, I'm sure you'll be a big hit at the cons if you can get your hands on one. But anyways, thank you guys very much for watching. Kick that like, kick the subscribe button, kick a comment in the comment section. Inflate those subscription numbers big and round. Yes. Anyways, have a good one, guys. Why is it not letting me stop recording? My thing's not working. There it goes.